Om Jananim Sharadam Devim Ramakrishnam Jagatgurum Padapadme Tvayo Shritva Pranamami Muhur Muhur Namah Shri Yatirajaya Vivekananda Suraye Satchit Sukha Swarupaya Swamine Tapaharine Sthapakaya Cha Dharmasya Sarvadharma Swarupine Avataro Varishtaya Ramakrishnaya Te Namaha. And what our topic is, our spiritual experiences scientifically and objectively verifiable. So let's start with the text. And what we're going to be doing, so if all of you can get a copy of the text, it'll be great. Start with the introduction. Swamiji says, all our knowledge is based upon experience. Yoga Sutras, this 1.5, Pratyaksha Anumana Agamaha Pramanani. What does Pratyaksha mean? What was that? Direct perception. Now, in Western philosophy, there is something called epistemology. Epistemology means source of knowledge. In Sanskrit, in the 6 different schools of Indian philosophy, it is also there. It is known as Pramanavada. Pramana means proof, Vada means methodology of proof. Now, the difference, there's some major differences. When Swamiji says all our knowledge is based upon experience, Western scientists, psychologists will not disagree with this. But there's a fundamental difference. What is that difference? Western science, psychology, they do not believe in previous birth. So there's a term called tabula rasa, T-A-B-U-L-A-R-A-S-A, tabula rasa. That means blank slate. People are born with a blank slate. But in Vedanta Yoga, we know that we're reincarnated. So many samskaras are already there. Now, Western philosophy agrees with the different schools of Indian philosophy. There are 2 types of reasoning. One is pratyaksha, direct perception. So there's a school of philosophy called empiricism. That means all knowledge comes from our sense organs' contact with this world. Another type of philosophy called rationalism, it says that all knowledge comes from what? Reason. In Vedanta, Yoga, Swamiji agrees and the commentators agree. There's something called Indriya Ja Pratyaksha. Indriya means sense organs, Ja means born of, Pratyaksha, direct perception from the sense organs, just like empiricism. But there's also another type of perception, supersensuous perception, Yoga Ja Pratyaksha. What does that mean? That supersensuous perception, which is what Swamiji is introducing to a Western audience in Raja Yoga. In fact, if you look at the Gita that's there, when Arjuna, I think it's Gita's 11.8, Krishna tells Arjuna, yes, the soul can be seen, but not by these eyes. So let me give you that divine vision. Same thing with Swami Vivekananda. In College Church College, Actually, I like to do pilgrimage tour sites, so I actually visited the exact room where Swami Vivekananda was a young man and Professor Hastie was giving a lecture in Scottish Church College on Wordsworth poem Excursions. And in it, they were talking about the concept of trances. Then a young Narendranath Datta asked Professor Hastie, is there anybody who has experienced these trances? And you know what Professor Hastie said? The Paramahamsa in Dakshineshwar. In fact, Swamiji also, when he approached Sri Ramakrishna, actually in 1884, he had been studying Western philosophy. He had been influenced by rationalism, empiricism, a very rational thinker. Underneath it there was devotion, but how he questioned Sri Ramakrishna. When he first heard about Sri Ramakrishna's ecstasies, he thought, Pagla hoye gache. He's gone off his rocker. Then one day he asked Sri Ramakrishna, is it possible to see God? And Thakur ki bollen, yes, I see him more intensely than I see you. These are examples of this yogaja pratyaksha. Let's continue. What we call inferential knowledge, in which we go from the less to the more general, or from the general to the particular, has experience as its basis. What is the Sanskrit word for inferential knowledge? Anumana. Anumana. Now, in Western philosophy, there's two types of anumanas. One is deductive logic, that's top down, and the other is inductive logic, bottom up. What do we mean by top down? The famous syllogism, all men are mortal. Socrates is a man. Therefore, Socrates is mortal. Or all human beings die. We are all human beings. Therefore, someday we will die. Even Buddha is one of the insights. He said, Sarvam idam dukkham. This is suffering. Every human being undergoes suffering. We are all human beings. Therefore, we are suffering. There might be a pushback. But Swami, sometimes I'm in happiness. So Buddha at that time, he made this comment. He was the prince of his kingdom. He was going to have dominion over the entire half the world. So he says, even within that suffering, even within that happiness, it's suffering. Why? Sarvam indiyam kshanikam. Everything is kshanikam, meaning everything is changing. That's an example of deductive logic. Then inductive logic, bottom up. So that would be from the particular to the general. Every crow I've seen in my life has been black. Therefore, all crows are black. This is from the specific to the general. It's interesting because a lot of the stereotypes we have towards other people, whether it's race, gender, whatever it may be, it comes from this inductive logic. Yes. So Dr. Tapas is rightly saying it's much different. So it's also different when we read this text, we also should be asking ourselves, what is the difference from Swamiji's time to now? What is the difference? It's not the same as it was during Swamiji's time. So we also have to apply our critical thinking. So now the next question, the scientist does not tell you to believe in anything, but he has certain results which come from his own experiences. We said that. Next, question, has religion any such basis or not? Swamiji continues, I shall have to answer the question both in the affirmative and in the negative. Because we don't have a microphone, so this won't be able to be, otherwise I would ask, how does one think it's affirmative and how does one think it's negative? But I want everyone to think about that. Is that true? Is it both affirmative and negative? Swamiji continues, religion as it is generally taught all over the world is said to be based upon faith and belief, and in most cases consists only of different sets of theories. And that is the reason why we find all religions quarreling with one another. I don't think much has changed since then to today. One man says there is a great being sitting above the clouds and governing the whole universe. And he asks me to believe that solely on the authority of his assertion. How many here or online, how many of you have experienced this? Raise your hand. Someone asks you to believe something based on their belief. Yes. One devotee said from her childhood she has been seeing this. In fact, if you look at YouTube, you see there's like this craze to try to convert people. You call a person from a different religion and you say, if I can convince you, will you accept my religion? This is based on what? Subjective belief. This is why religion and metaphysical philosophy have a bad name nowadays. Every educated man seems to say, oh, these religions are only bundles of theories without any standard to judge them by. Each man preaching his own pet ideas. Nevertheless, there is a basis of universal belief in religion, governing all the different theories and all the varying ideas of different sects in different countries. Going to their basis, we find that they also are based upon universal experiences. This is a very bold claim Swamiji is making. He's speaking, I feel, mostly to the agnostics. Everybody knows what an agnostic is. I don't believe in this, but because I don't experience it. It may be true, it may not be true. Scientists outright reject the concept of something, a soul, something beyond the five senses. And then of course you have the other types, that they're fanatical, so they just accept these things without an objectifiable verification. So Swamiji wants to bring and introduce both subjectivity and objectivity to religion. Going to their basis, we find that they also are based upon universal experiences. In the first place, if you analyze all the various religions of the world, you will find that these are divided into two classes. Those with a book are the strongest and have the largest number of followers. Those without books have mostly died out. What does he mean by that? Can anyone say, what does those without a book mean? What are some examples of those without a book? Dr. Tapas said Vedas. No, Vedas actually, they were actually codified. That's a good point, but they actually were codified into text afterwards. And we'll get into that. But those without books, you can say, are like tribal religions. Shamian, this spiritual but not religious. They do not have a text. Nature worship. The Native American Indians. In China, there's a current movement, Falun. So they don't have text. It may be based on some experience of one leader, but there's no text behind it. So it's mainly subjective. In fact, when I was at Harvard, that was a big craze. In order to encourage pluralism and deconstruct traditional religions, people would emphasize their own subjective beliefs, the spiritual, not religious. One of it is this backlash against dogma. So those with the book are the strongest and have the largest number of followers. Swamiji continues, those without books have mostly died out, and the few new ones have very small followings. Yet in all of them, we find one consensus of opinion, that the truths they teach are the results of the experiences of particular persons. This is interesting. Swamiji is now leading into to supporting the idea that spiritual experiences can have an objective basis. Swamiji continues, the Christian asks you to believe in his religion, to believe in Christ, and to believe in him as the incarnation of God, to believe in a God, in a soul, and in a better state of that soul. If I ask him for a reason, he says he believes in them. But if you go to the fountainhead of Christianity, you will find that it is based upon experience. Christ said he saw God. The disciples said they felt God, and so forth. Similarly, in Buddhism, it is Buddha's experience. He experienced certain truths, saw them, came in contact with them, and preached them to the world. So with the Hindus. In their books, the writers, who are called rishis or sages, declared they experienced certain truths, and these they preach. That it is clear that all the religions of the world have been built upon that one universal and adamantine foundation of all our knowledge. What is that? Direct experience. What we said, yogaja pratyaksha, supersensuous experience. I want to share something now, just a quick slide presentation. Okay, you can all see that? So I decided to do a little bit of research because I wanted to see what happened. What launch? Okay. I wanted to see is this actually true? Is the founder of each religion, do they also have these experiences? And I also like to visit these different places. I visited almost all the different places in India, but I wanted to also see other places around the world. So this is a picture of the place where Christ was baptized at the Jordan River near Bethany. It's presently in Jordan, and they said that he was baptized here. And as he came up above the water, it's reported in the Bible, the heaven opened, the Spirit of God descended like a dove, and a voice from heaven said, "This is my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased." This is Christianity. And many different disciples of Christ, including later-day saints, had experiences of God. Saint Francis of Assisi, so many in Europe. Let's go to Islam. So this cave is called the Cave of Hira. This is where it is claimed that Prophet Muhammad received the first revelation from Angel Gabriel. In fact, it says that he was engaged in meditation in solitude. And then the angel Gabriel appeared before him. How many have been to Bodh Gaya here? Okay, a few. So this is on the right, this is a picture of Bodh Gaya today. But if you look on the left-hand side, this was drawn in 1810. So today it looks a little bit more like a tourist place because there's a temple there, many new edifices have been constructed. But this seems to be more like it may have been in Buddha's time. It's a forest behind there. And Buddha sat here and engaged, and it is here that he sat and experienced nirvana. And this is where Buddhism emanated from. The insights of the Four Noble Truths emanated from here. Now let's go to Hinduism. So Hinduism, there's no end. We can look at the entire map of India. I've been to most of the places, so I can give my first-hand account. This is the Panchavati, an old picture of the Panchavati, where Ramakrishna practiced spiritual discipline, especially between the years of 1855 and 1867. It's said that in this particular area, there's not any type of spiritual experience that he did not have. Bhakti, Tantra, Vaishnavism, Shaivism, Vedanta, Advaita Vedanta. And then you see this picture of Christ. Many of you may know, he was looking at this picture of Christ, and looking at it, he went, rays of light emanated from the picture, and they entered into him. Then for the next 3 days, he meditated upon Christ. And it said that at the end of his 3 days of sadhana of Christ, that Christ entered into him. Same thing with Islam. He was initiated by Govinda Roy. Actually, recently I found that Govinda Roy's Mahasamadhi Sthan is very close to here, a new discovery. And he practiced Islamic sadhana here for 3 days. And at the end of 3 days, he saw some image of Islamic fakir. Again, it merged into him. Buddha, in fact, in his room, he used to keep images of Buddha and Jainism, Tirthankara. I really believe that it's through this contact with Sri Ramakrishna that Swami Vivekananda could speak with such clarity. If you look at his relationship with Ramakrishna, Raja Yoga makes sense, direct experience. So let's going back to the text. So, thus it is clear that all the religions of the world have been built upon that one universal and adamantine foundation of all our knowledge, direct experience. The teachers all saw God, they all saw their own souls, they saw their future, they saw their eternity, and what they saw they preached. So Thakur in Bangla said, Mon mukh ek koro. So whatever you think, that you preach. Whatever you practice, that you preach. Only there is the difference that by most of these religions, especially in modern times, a peculiar claim is made, namely that these experiences are impossible at the present day. Again, he's addressing the audience in the West. They were only possible with a few men who were the first founders of the religion that subsequently bore their names. I think that might be something different from Swamiji's time. Especially when I'm in the West, sometimes even here, it's hard to meet a person who has not had a spiritual experience. So many people talk about it. But the question is, they're subjective experiences, but are they objectively verifiable? At the present time, these experiences have become obsolete, and therefore we now have to take religion on belief. What do you think? What do you all think? Are these Is it possible to have these experiences today? Yeah, I'm asking the wrong, you see, this is a question you have to ask in the West, not to Vedantists and people in India, of course it is. So there though, there will be different answers. Some people in Christianity, they say that they're born again. Have you heard that expression, born again? What does that mean? That's not having the experience of Christ that Christ had. That's more just a change of lifestyle due to a increased conviction in Christ. Increased conviction. But it's not an actually objective experience. It's a subjective conviction, a subjective belief. Let's continue. So Swamiji continues. At the present time, these experiences have become obsolete, and therefore we have now to take religion on belief. This I entirely deny. So he's speaking to the Christians, to the scientists, to the seances. This was his audience at that time. If there has been one experience in this world, in any particular branch of knowledge, it absolutely follows that that experience has been possible millions of times before and will be repeated eternally. Uniformity is the rigorous law of nature. What once happened can happen always. Well, at that time, that was a very explosive claim for Swamiji to make in the West, especially. Sometimes, especially in America and other places, some people, if they claim to have some type of spiritual experiences, they would say, "How dare you?" They would burn them at the stake. They would call them witches. And that was one idea. The teachers of the science of yoga therefore declare that religion is not only based upon the experience of ancient times, but that no man can be religious until he has the same perceptions himself. So this is Swamiji's now, he's getting at the purpose of Raja Yoga. It's something that's what? Subjectively and scientifically verifiable. So now he's going to explain how it is scientifically verifiable. Yoga is the science which teaches us how to get these perceptions. It is not much use to talk about religion until one has felt it. What do you think about that? It is not much use to talk about religion until one has felt it. Well, okay, so one devotee is saying that it goes back to what Thakur said. So I want to just examine that word felt. What do you think the word felt means? Let me repeat it again. It is not much use to talk about religion until one has felt it. Subtle, okay, one devotee said subtle body. What else? Anubhuti. Good, anubhuti. Okay, direct perception. So you can say in Advaita Vedanta, aparoksha anubhuti. In Dvaita, experiencing the Krishna in the heart. Okay? In yoga, realizing oneself is beyond the ego mind body complex and seeing oneself as what? Purusha. So many different ways are there. But I want to focus on that word felt. And I've been thinking about this a long time. I would argue that that word felt can be understood in one of two ways. As one devotee said, it can be interpreted as, on one end of the pendulum, anubhuti, direct, the highest spiritual experience, nirvana, advaita jnana. And yet, in some other traditions, I would argue that there's like a pendulum, what felt means. Felt can be, even you can say something as simple. It's going from the cognitive, the mind, to the affectative, the heart center. In Tantra, we have that concept of anahata chakra, the heart center. When that gets awakened in Tantra, you don't realize the highest. But what do you realize? I get a conviction. I'm something beyond this ego-mind-body complex. There's some soul within me. I have not fully realized it yet, but it's there. Does that make sense? Even Swami Vivekananda used to say, what about religion? It should not only stay at the head, it should be transmitted to the head, hand, and heart. Hand means what? It needs to be made practical. As we mentioned last time, that Swamiji, whether it's practical Advaita or practical yoga, he took the most subtle concepts and he brought it down to the level of practicality. Not from where we should be, but where we are. And to go from there up. That's very rare. Most acharyas, most teachers, including the commentators, they say, no, that's our goal. The ideal. Focus on the ideal. But what was the methodology of Sri Ramakrishna, Holy Mother, and Swami Vivekananda? Reconciling the ideal with the real, so that it becomes something living. So felt, one application might be, yes, the highest realization. Another is approximate goal, maybe some type of spiritual heart awakening, which is even in the Yoga Sutras, 1.29, pratyaksha chetana. Similar to Tantra, there the aspirant realizes themselves as something beyond the ego-mind-body complex, but it's not full realization yet. It is not asampragyata samadhi. Is that clear? I would even take it one step down. Even Swamiji placed a lot of emphasis. He linked the idea of feeling, the heart, expansion, feeling for others. He said that was a sign of spirituality. So as we take these texts, and it makes us even a better person at the most basic level. So I just want us, when we see these things, it's a pendulum. It's not all or nothing. It's not aparoksha anubhuti or bust. It is not much use to talk about religion until one has felt it. Why is there so much disturbance, so much fighting and quarreling in the name of God? There has been more bloodshed in the name of God than for any other cause, because people never went to the fountainhead. They were content only to give a mental assent to the customs of their forefathers and wanted others to do the same. What right has a man to say he has a soul if he does not feel it, or that there is a God if he does not see him? Sometimes that's there in some religious communities. Sometimes they'll say, don't you get it? Don't you see? So everybody by peer pressure has to see, yes, I see the Atman. I feel the Atman. It becomes, in Advaita Vedanta, we're supposed to do this apavada and vikshepa, not project. But sometimes in communities, we project ourselves even more. Swamiji continues, if there is a God, we must see him. If there is a soul, we must perceive it. Otherwise, it is better not to believe. It is better to be an outspoken atheist than a hypocrite. Now, I'm going to push back a little bit on Swamiji here, because a hypocrite in Bangla, what is the word? Kapotata. What is the word? To be a hypocrite in Bengali. What is the word? Kodik Manad? Kapota. Kapota, yes. So if you see what Ramakrishna, You could see it in even in his own disciples. He sometimes did not mind if people were attached to the world. Girish Ghosh, for example. But this was something consistent with Ramakrishna, Holy Mother, and Swamiji. This sense of hypocrisy they did not like. So I would say sometimes you see outspoken atheist. I think Swamiji means more agnostics. That I don't believe, but I'm not sure. If you show me the proof, I will believe. Because outspoken atheists, as you sometimes see, they're not willing to accept, they're also biased. As equally as biased as hypocrites. They won't accept, no matter what you say, they'll double, triple down on their own claims. Swamiji continues, the modern idea, on the one hand, with the learned, is that religion and metaphysics and all search after a supreme being are futile. On the other hand, with the semi-educated, the idea seems to be that these things really have no basis. Their only value consists in the fact that they furnish strong motive powers for doing good to the world. This semi-educated, I feel I want all of us to think about it, what Swamiji meant by semi-educated. But has anyone here heard of John Stuart Mill? The idea of utilitarianism. That idea that activity for the sake of bringing benefit to society. That's utilitarianism. Like modern social reformers, in India as well as in the West. If men believe in a God, they may become good and moral, and so make good citizens. We cannot blame them for holding such ideas, seeing that all the teaching these men get is simply to believe in an eternal rigmarole of words, without any substance behind them. They are asked to live upon words. Can they do it? If they could, I should not have the least regard for human nature. Swamiji continues, man wants truth, wants to experience truth for himself. When he has grasped it, realized it, felt it within his heart of hearts. Again, he's using the word heart. Feeling. I'm going to go back to that again and again. Taking it from the cognitive, whether it's Advaita, yoga, bhakti, taking it from the cognitive and let it go into the heart center. In fact, there's many references in the Upanishads. They say that the mind is the heart. The thought dwells, the Atman dwells in the heart, not the brain. Man wants truth, wants to experience truth for himself. When he has felt it within his heart of hearts, then alone, declared the Vedas, would all doubts vanish, all darkness be scattered, and all crookedness be made straight. And then Swamiji quotes from the Shvetashwara Upanishad, ye children of immortality, even those who live in the highest sphere, the way is found. Shravantu Vishwe Amritasya Putraha. Swamiji's loved that. He used that again and again in his lectures. Ye children of immortality. He's affirming that divinity within each and every one of us. Now the ending of what we're going to end today, Swamiji continues. The science of Raja Yoga proposes to put before humanity a practical and scientifically worked out method of reaching this truth. In the first place, every science must have its own method of investigation. If you want to become an astronomer and sit down and cry, astronomy, astronomy, it will never come to you. Even sometimes when we were studying, when we were students, we might have felt procrastination. We might have also done that. The same with chemistry. A certain method must be followed. You must go to a laboratory, take different substances, mix them up, compound them, experiment with them, And out of that will come a knowledge of chemistry. I'll just continue. Each science must have its own methods. I could preach you thousands of sermons, but they would not make you religious until you practice the method. I'm going to conclude with this. Remember in the beginning we said that in Western science and Western philosophy, they believe that the mind is a blank slate, tabula rasa. Later in this text, we're going to see what Swamiji says about knowledge. We've read it before. All knowledge is within. What brings out the knowledge? Friction. So it's not a question of acquiring something outside of myself. Swamiji uses the example of Isaac Newton. When he was sitting underneath the tree and the apple fell on him, then did the law of gravitation appear outside? Or did it come from within? So similarly, Swamiji makes this claim that every time we engage in this friction study. That friction removes the darkness and sheds the light within. And by that process, knowledge is revealed, not acquired. This last sentence and then we'll finish. I could preach you thousands of sermons, but they would not make you religious until you practice the method. So what now Swamiji is going to do in the following text of Raja Yoga, he's going to preach something called Ashtanga Yoga, the old eightfold way for realizing oneself as Purusha, beyond this ego, mind, body complex. So with that, I will stop. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat.